There's something that I've been avoiding talking about because something feels weird about it, but then I realize, no, I won't allow those icky feelings to prevent me from talking about this. And to dive into the subject, I have so much to go through, so just stick around for it. We're going to do some flashbacks to the Melania and Donald issues and talk about how that contrasts with Jill and Joe Biden. So much, but we first have to talk about what's pressing now. And we'll start with the CNN reporting.
Judge chose to give a curative instruction, but it's not like the jury didn't hear it and it didn't register.
And today you had in the courtroom for all of this, everybody except for Ivanka and Jared and Melania.
The whole family. So I would put these in two separate categories, the Ivanka and Jared of it and the Melania of it.
I'm going to really quickly pause your viewing of this video to ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're enjoying the content by clicking that subscribe button. Thank you so much.
We did not ever think that Melania Trump was going to show up. This humiliated her at the time. She is not a stand by your man kind of person, and she was never going to come to court and say, oh yes, of course he did this to protect me. That is not who Melania Trump is, and that is not the relationship she has with her with her husband, as I have been told. I was a former president, former husband. Okay, a little bit. So that's what I've been told by a number of sources close to them.
So again, it feels weird, their personal life, but think about how consequential this is. In any other situation, a politician in trouble, in legal trouble, number one thing that happens is their entire family shows support for them, because the message goes something like, if your family isn't even standing by your side, why on earth would the American people stand by your side amid these legal issues? Particularly because if Trump's denying all that relates to this case, then he's denying a very unfamily values type event, this affair, that's not the illegal part, of course, but is this story they were trying to cover up, and then illegality could have been involved in the cover-up attempt, and that could have been an attempt to defraud the American public. We'll get a verdict on that very soon. But one of the ways that politicians, when they're accused of bad behavior, especially in the Republican Party, they push back against that is show, you think my wife would be standing proudly next to me if I really did all these horrible things? And for the sake of this segment, I do want us all to set aside the legal issues and just talk about the story itself, right? Okay, the falsification of business records, an attempt to cover up the campaign finance violations, that'll be figured out through the courts. But the story at the center of it, a newborn Baron was being taken care of by Melania. Melania being cheated on by Trump with a porn star. That's at the core of this story. And the party of family values is going to nominate this guy, the guy who can't even get his own wife, to be supportive of him. CNN reports Donald Trump listened to closing arguments on Tuesday, surrounded by 3 of his adult children and some of their spouses, the largest family gathering in the Manhattan courthouse since the former president's hush money trial began 6 weeks ago. Oh, incredible. However, the display of familial support also drew attention to those conspicuously absent from the family patriarch's side, his wife and his eldest daughter. Another CNN report, former First Lady Melania Trump has been largely absent from the 2024 campaign, and sources close to the Trump campaign acknowledge that even at this point, well into the election year, it is still unknown how she will throw her weight publicly behind her husband's re-election efforts. So, I've said before to MAGA, why do you support someone who worked with a bunch of people who now are saying, please don't let this deranged individual anywhere close to the White House again? You support him more than many of the people who watched him in the most intimate and important decisions, in the most consequential rooms. They were there, and they don't support him as much as you support him. They're against him. And then I add to that, of course, on paper, Melania supports Trump's re-election bid, but she doesn't really support him, as we're seeing with her absence on the campaign trail. This is not normal in a presidential campaign. Now, one just side moment before going further, Trump walked by his, as you're seeing on screen, his children who were there. Trump walks past Junior, Eric, and Tiffany, this video's caption. And the notable part of it was that Trump just sort of walks past them, doesn't really acknowledge them. And JoJo from Jurors responded perfectly, saying, I'm shocked the guy who cheated on Eric's mom with Tiffany's mom and then cheated on her mom with the woman he cheated on, in this case, wasn't more warm and fuzzy. Exactly, party of family values. Now, another bit of interesting reporting here to fully contextualize is former White House press secretary Stephanie Grisham said Melania Trump has not attended her husband's hush money trial because she's thinking of her own optics, which you kind of understand. Well, let me clarify. Melania Trump should be judged for her horrible support for her own husband and her horrible views and all that, right? So let's not pretend like she's a victim in this situation. She's choosing to, on paper, stand by him, and she should be judged for that. But in a sense, you do understand how excruciating this must be for her, where her husband, at least officially her husband, he is currently in the middle of a trial, and a bunch of what's being discussed is how, I don't know, he was spanked with a magazine of himself by a porn star. Is that really what she wants to have to hear when she shows up in court to be supportive of him? Probably not. And then you have this from Newsweek. Melania Trump renegotiated her prenuptial agreement with Donald Trump because his 2024 presidential campaign needed her to be more visible, according to an attorney. It was revealed earlier this week that the former First Lady renegotiated her marriage contract with Trump to ensure, this is actually really interesting, she will be left with plenty of money in the case he drains his bank account paying legal fees for his multiple indictments. Oof. That is brutal. Trump might be draining so much of his money that she needs to make sure she'll be left with something if they were to split, or if he were, something would happen. You know how it works. Now, I want to, as we go through this, just remind you, because it's sort of connected, of some iconic, I guess you could call them, moments between Melania and Donald Trump.
Whoa! Hey! Don't touch me! Don't touch me! Whoa! Hey! Don't touch me! Hey! Hey! Don't touch me! Don't touch me! Hey! Oh! Don't touch me! La 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 la. Don't touch me!
So that's just for fun. That's not important, but it's always interesting to review those clips. Again, what's the takeaway here? It is humiliating. It is for Donald Trump to not be having his wife stand by his side in a consequential moment like this. He's going to be hearing the verdict on whether or not he'll be a free man in the future. And she's not there to support him. And this is the worst imaginable time for her absence to be something people are taking note of. Because it is one of those moments where I think even some MAGA folks will notice, wait, why isn't Melania being there with Donald? There's some other family members, but not Melania, not Ivanka. And that is definitely notable. Now, I want to contrast that couple with the current couple in the White House. Speaking of on lighter notes, Road News reports President Joe Biden has joked to aides that the key to a long and lasting marriage is good sex, according to a new book about First Lady Joe Biden that casts a spotlight on their 47-year romance. And with that being said, here's a clip that I want to show you.
I knew that I wanted to marry her shortly after I met her. Everybody says marriages are 50-50. Well, that's not true. Sometimes you have to be 70-30. When I'm really down, she steps in, and when she's down, I'm able to step in. And we've been really supportive of one another.
You know, with all that we've been through together as a couple, there's that quote that says sometimes you become stronger in the fractured places. And I think over time, that's what we hope for, that's what we try to achieve, and to learn from that.
The reporter looked at me and she said, everybody says you and your wife have a great love affair. And I said, I think so, but I said, everyone knows I love her more than she loves me. It's not that we don't fight and argue sometimes, but I don't know, I just think I'm just lucky.
Well, after 43 years of marriage, there's really not that much more to fight about.
I think it's important to, and Jill does the same thing, let each other know no matter how much time has gone by. She comes down the step, it still goes a little boom, 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 boom. For real.
And then this one's pretty epic. Jill Biden defends Joe Biden from a protester who lunges at Joe, and Jill, boom, pushes them away. Pretty dang cool. You just have to say it. And so again, this gets to sort of the hypocrisy, this contradiction that we see from MAGA folks, where for so long they would justify their judgment and their hatred for people and their bad policies that demonize different populations by saying, well, the reason that we have to do that we're justified in acting the ways that we are and pushing for the policies that we do, is because we are moral, party of family values type individuals. And so we have to do this, and we have sort of the moral standing to do this, and we only support people who abide by those principles. Well, then Trump comes along, and right now you have, just by every metric, Biden would be a much more party of family values type guy, as we're talking about here, than Donald Trump, the civilly liable rapist. But they're siding with the civilly liable rapist who currently is in court hearing about the porn star affair and then his allegedly illegal attempt to cover it up during a campaign. And that contradiction and abandonment of principles, like we talk about with so many things, it never makes any more sense. It never gets any less upsetting. And I wish the people who are flip-flopping like that would do some introspection. And maybe what you'll realize, you never cared about that. And you don't actually support the Republican candidates because of XYZ reasons, but then you're going to have to figure out why you actually support Trump. And I think that might disturb you if you did enough introspection. I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think of Biden's secret to a happy marriage. No, let me know what you thought of that segment in the comments.